Hi again. It's going to take us a few minutes or a little bit to set up. Um, I just need this light to come over here. Okay. So, uh, again, I'm Barbara Valentino. I was noticing the screen. I'd like to share some different news than you might have heard. As you've seen, almost all of the films are closed caption. This is something Docs started about 2 years ago, 3 years ago. We were one of the very, very first small festivals to do that. And we are very pleased to continue that tradition. And with the Film Festival Alliance, many festivals, much bigger than ours, are now doing that. We just think it's really important. And especially our youth films, when they go on YouTube, they're also closed captioned. And we just think it's very important to try and reach out to the community and to be as accessible as possible. As you've noticed in the space, which we call it our new space, but we moved in right before COVID, it is ADA accessible. So we believe everybody has a story and everybody should be able to come into Docs and work together. So I looks like we are almost ready to go. We need that light on. And can I give a round for Andrew? He is doing about 4 jobs since last night, and I want to thank him very much on behalf of everybody at Docs. And with that, filmmakers come up, moderator come up, and I'm going to let you introduce yourself.
Lovely. Welcome everybody. My name is Karush. Please, guys, come on up. Let's have a seat here.
I'm going to switch mics with you.
Okay.
Just be careful that don't touch
that button. Okay, my name is Karush. I've had really the honor to be a judge for the film festival, and they've extended the honor to me to moderate this panel. I was a Docs in Progress Fellow some time ago. I made a film about climate change and agriculture, so it was very nice for me to be here and to talk to everybody today. Our first, yes? Oh, I'm sorry. Thank you so much. First, I just want to take a quick 2 minutes, and introduce yourselves and tell us why you made the film. Why did you decide that this was the best film for you to make at this time? So very quickly.
Okay, since I have the microphone. I'm Cynthia Khabib. I'm the producer of Birdwalk. And I decided to make the film because several years ago, a friend of mine who's a birder got in touch with me, and she told me that she and a group of other birders had gone to the old Redgate Park golf course that had been closed, and in just a few months, they discovered over 100 species of birds. And I was familiar with, just like my backyard birds, but I didn't know that there were so many species just 15 minutes from my home. And I've always been interested in environmental issues and local community issues that also resonate on a national level. And so I decided to produce the documentary, and during the course of the production, I became a birder myself.
Hi everyone, my name is Lily Huffman. I'm the director of Unfiltered. I actually come from a background of coastal environmental management and coastal science. And so when I was at American University for my capstone project, I figured, what better time would there be than now to combine my interests and make a film all about an emerging industry, and one that I think tells a really interesting story, and one that's not necessarily as rare as you'd think, where industry and conservation and sustainability sort of go hand in hand. You can't really have one without the other when you have oysters. So I hope you enjoyed.
Hello, my name is Ahmed. I was the cinematographer for Treat Lady. Zach directed. He can definitely speak more on why he did the project, but I'm just grateful to have worked on it and be here with you guys.
My name's Zach. As Ahmed mentioned, I am the director of The Treat Lady, and I wanted to make this film just because I was walking my dog to this park every morning, and every single day I saw Mary just surrounded by dogs, and it was just the happiest, brightest scene. It was just such a wonderful way to start my day, and I just thought, wow, you're an amazing person, and I want to make a film about you. And that's honestly pretty much it. I hope you guys enjoyed it.
Thank you. So the next question, and I'll start with you, and we'll go back in reverse, is as this is the Community Stories Film Festival, how did the community help you make the film? How did it shape your view of your story?
I mean, this community is honestly just incredible. I think we live in such a wonderful kind of area in the country where we get to be exposed to people of all different types of cultures, different places around the world. And for me, that's just meant everything. I think I'm from New Hampshire originally, and that's a very singular type of culture, if you know what I mean. And so just being down here and getting to be a documentary filmmaker in this space has just made me grow so much as a person, as an artist, as a filmmaker. And I think just to contribute to that space and capture someone's story in any kind of small way that I can contribute has honestly been just amazing. I never thought I'd get to meet the people that I've met here, connected with Ahmed, people that I never would have met if I had stayed in New Hampshire. So I'm just really thrilled to be a part of such a cool community like we have here in the DC Baltimore area.
Thank you.
Just to piggyback off of what Zach was saying, the reason I really love documentary and documentary community filmmaking is you're able to get into so many places that you never would usually be in. I'm personally more of a cat person, so it was just a cool thing to make.
I think in making this film, I got to work with folks who might not see themselves as the part of the same community. You have your farmers over here and folks from the Chesapeake Bay Foundation over there. And both sets of folks were really wonderful and helping out however they could, coming together, asking if I needed anything, giving me their time. I mean, I was just intruded on their days. It's their work day, and I'm just there getting in the way. Chesapeake Bay Foundation is a major member of our community. So for them to be willing to open up to me as well I was really grateful for that. And hopefully I've, done their stories justice and bringing them together in a way that shows their differences, but also, shows how everyone can work together to work towards a common goal.
So, in terms of community, well, I learned about it through Vicki Bailey, whom you saw in the film Birdwalk. And so Vicki led me to several other people, and often the way it is in documentaries is, one person leads you to another, which leads you to another, which leads you to another. And I met Wayne, who was involved in the big grassroots campaign when I initially went out for a bird walk with the Montgomery Bird Club to find out, hey, what's all this big deal about, in this golf course, where we really didn't see a lot of birds that day. It was a January day, but we saw a few birds, and that's how I got to meet Wayne, who he immediately built this website to save Redgate Park, and got involved in a big letter writing campaign with the community. And so just one person just led to another. And I think that's what you said about, just being a part of something that you normally aren't. You're like an outsider in a way, looking in and getting to know all these people and getting to know all these birds, I made a lot of bird friends. So the community just plays a huge role in it. And all my documentaries have been about the Washington, D.C. area, which, as you said, it's so diverse, and it's so wonderful to I want people to see themselves in the documentaries that I produce. And so that's one of the things that I really enjoy about it, too, just, producing something that's community-based. But also, it's a national issue. So my hope, it showed at the Colorado Environmental Film Festival recently, so it's something that a lot of people can relate to all over the country, and it showed in Zurich, Switzerland at a film festival there, because everybody loves birds, and birds are having a lot of problems in terms of survival and loss of habitat and other factors that affect their declining population. So.
Did you think that you would be such an activist for birds when you started making this film?
No. I mean, I was one of these people who, just like walked around and didn't really notice birds that much. But then I became transformed, and now I kind of, I'm kind of a pain in the neck in a way when I walk with people. I'm like, hey, wait, did you see that? Did you hear that? Because I think that what it leads you to do is when I produce this documentary is I walk around my neighborhood now, and I see a lot of people on their phones, and they're not hearing what I'm hearing. They're not seeing what I'm seeing. If you just take the time to just walk around your neighborhood, and it can be really at any time of day, although early morning and dusk are the best times to see more birds, is look around you, stop, walk slowly, listen, use the Merlin app, which is a lot of fun. You can just use it in your own backyard. And yeah, I think that I didn't think that this would happen, which is a nice surprise, But it's really a way to advocate for birds, for the environment, for their protection, for the protection of these really important habitats. And that's what I want the documentary to do, to motivate people to really discover the joys of birding, but to also see the importance of conserving these habitats and seeing how they can play a part in it by being citizen scientists themselves and contributing to the very important research that's being done that can only be advanced by all of you and all the people who are contributing their bird sightings.
Sometimes as filmmakers, we come out and we start making a film, and as we're making the film, it kind of has a mind of its own and turns into something else. Willie, I know that you are a student of environmental sciences, and how has making the film kind of progressed your views on your role in activism in this field, and perhaps a happy accident that you came across about how you were able to do?
For sure. So I came to documentary specifically because I am really passionate about science communication. I think it's something that as scientists we can always be doing better, and we live in a world where you're not going to get away from visual media. So what better way to bring science to the fore than through a documentary? But for myself, I think also creating a documentary really drives home how important it is to talk to people and to really listen to what they're saying to you. Because, you might go in, you've done your research, but, once you start talking to individuals about their own experiences, this story's not always what you think it's going to be. People, everyone's an individual. Everyone has a different perspective on an issue or a situation. So I think, really going out into the community and talking to people and listening to their stories makes me, as someone who is more science-focused, a better communicator, because you really start to listen to people and you don't drown out those stories and you don't say, oh, they're an outlier. It's, it's important to take all of those perspectives in if we want to, make headway in conservation. So I think that's really something that you have to learn to do in documentary. for sure.
And Ahmed, when you were setting out to, when both of you guys were setting out to make the film, what was kind of like an unexpected happy accident that you thought you were setting out to make a certain kind of film, and maybe you came across a new understanding along the way, a preconceived notion was perhaps shattered?
When I started talking to this community at Lincoln Park, I actually wanted to do sort of like a jokey investigative documentary about leash laws. That was sort of my, because it's very contentious. I don't know if you could see on some of the wide shots, they put a fence around the green space in the middle of the park. It's because when that's gone, it's just a sort of illegal dog park. Basically, it's if you've ever been to Lincoln Park, you'll know it. But anyway, I started going into it with that sort of idea, and then the more and more I kind of started figuring out, like, oh, I got to reach out to like National Park Services, and they're going to take forever to get this. And I really just wanted to make an adorable documentary about dogs, And so once I kind of accepted that and knew like this was the story I wanted to tell, everything really kind of fell into place. We shot this thing in probably like 3 or 4 hours, and the edit came together in like 2 days. It was really just one of those things where once I knew that Mary was going to be the character and I was going to build the whole film around her, everything, the magic kind of worked itself out. It was just very clear, like, we need these shots. This is how the edit is going to be. And I think that was just really a testament to going in with a solid vision for your work, whether that be, a film or, a painting or anything like that. It's like, for me, that's the big first step, is really getting in your mind, like, okay, what is the story about? How does it feel? What emotions do I want to invoke in it? And once I got laser focused on that, I brought Ahmed in, and he so masterfully captured that with his cinematography. And yeah, I think that was kind of that was basically the impetus for everything. I don't know if you want to add anything to that.
That's great. Thank you. I want to say, if anybody from the audience has any questions, please raise a hand, and we have a microphone that you can use to ask your question.
Actually, I'm going to speak up for a moment. I want to ask Cynthia, talk about sound.
Oh, yeah.
Talk about sound.
Yeah.
Okay, so can I talk about video too? Okay, because the first thing that happened was that when I went out with Vicky to walk around the park and see the birds, I'm like, there's no way I can do this. These birds, they just like flit around. It's really hard. But I didn't have the right camera at the time, so I decided to invest in a camera with a long lens and just hope that that would really help me out, which it did. So that was the first thing, and I learned also that just standing still for long periods of time and waiting for birds to appear it's really important, and not only as a photographer but as a birder too, if you go out. And then I learned, I went to the park over 100 times to get birds because I wanted to get different species. So I might go like one time and then, all I saw was mockingbirds and geese. So I had to go back a lot of times and during different times of during different seasons. So in terms of sound, I had a microphone that's mounted to the camera, which was pretty good, but the park is located near East Goody Drive, which, if you're familiar with it, it's a very industrial area, and there's also a place nearby where they fix like the Rockville police cars, and there's also always a lot of noise, around there. So I got a grant from the Arts and Humanities Council of Montgomery County to just do sound, just get rid of all those, background sounds that you hear, and that really, was a really good investment, because then you could really hear the birds well without that background sound. So all the sound was captured just with this little mic that I have mounted to the camera, and then we did the sound design and the, just get all those background sounds out there.
Thank you.
Lovely. Do, you want, do we have a question here?
No, we
It's all for the feed. It's all for the feed.
hold on. Use this mic.
Sorry. Great movies. Cynthia, when you were actually picking your camera, we actually met at Red Great Park once, so it's amazing to see from starting the project to now, and I'm a birder there. I guess my question I had was, it's this amazing story of this golf course becoming a natural public park, and I'm wondering if you're seeing any of that around the country. Every time I'm like kayaking on CNO and I passed by the Trump golf course, and then there's ospreys out there, I'm like, wow, wouldn't this be great as a national park? Then there's so many of that. I'm just wondering if there's stories of what we have over here in Rockville is something that might inspire something bigger.
Yes, thank you for that question. Yes, there are the number of golf courses in the last, I would say, 10 years has declined, according to a study that was done. And so now communities are looking at, what do we do with these golf courses that are no longer golf courses? And so some of them have been transformed into, natural areas or parks, sanctuaries, and but some of them there's still a lot of, the developers want to get in there. People don't want them there. Some people want to form like land trusts, So and the New York Times actually had an article several months ago about this whole issue with golf courses and what to do with them. So yeah, a lot of them are being made into like nature trails, and so that's good news. But others are being sought for development. So.
Hold on, we're swapping mics. Walter, hold on. Where's my other mic runner?
Right here. Oh, here we are. One question in the audience. Where's the other one?
The battery died in that mic. Go use that one.
That died too? Okay.
Hello, great films all. My question is actually for Cynthia also. I don't mean to neglect the rest of you. I had heard that getting permission from the FAA to do drone shots in the DC area is downright impossible. How did you do it?
Well, luckily, when I contacted the drone company that I wanted to use, they're down in Richmond actually. The guy who's the head actually showed me that we were right outside the restricted area. So, thumbs up. We were able to do it. The hard part was that I wanted to get the fall foliage at that time, and so we kept having to postpone it because it would be too cloudy, it would be too foggy, it would be rainy. But finally, I didn't want to lose that chance, so finally we had a nice clear day that we could do the drone footage. So.
Lovely films, all of you. Captivating. I'm shocked that it only took a few days to make The Treat Lady. May I ask all of you how long the process was from beginning to end?
Yeah, I'm trying to think. I learned about it in November of 2019, and I started like going out to the park in 2020, and then I started actually filming interviews in 2021. So it probably took about, I would say, about 3 years. I needed 2 years to really go out to the park and film the birds. And then, of course, I was also finding people to interview and then trying to get funding and then, the editing process and everything took a while. So, so I would say about 3 years, which is generally how long it takes me to produce the documentaries that I do. So,
I want to say it took about 6 months for my film to come together. There were about 5 shoots that took place over several weeks, going back and forth to the Eastern Shore a few times. And then with the post-production process, that took a few months to come together and go through several different iterations. I guess technically it could still be counted as going on. I have someone who's doing some professional sound mixing on it now. But overall, I think it probably took around 6 months to do.
Yeah, so I mean, we just shot it in like 4 hours. We wanted to yeah, Zach hit me up and he's like, "Hey, we're gonna do this thing in a day." And, it's a really cool challenge because you're like, okay, what kind of story can you tell? How do you tell that story? And there's like the inside of her home and then the outside where she's at the park. In order to tell a story so succinctly, we needed to create some visual rules. Like in the home, we wanted to keep it really warm when she's reminiscing about her dog. Keep that all on a tripod, keep it very calm and static. And then when she's outside with the dogs, it's more flowy, movie, more saturated. Yeah, just a couple hours. And then Zach edited.
I'll add on to that. The bulk of this film came together in pre-production. Even though we shot it and edited it in like 4 to 5 days collectively, it was a lot of just going to the park, talking to Mary, getting her trust. I think that really did a lot of heavy lifting because by the time we got in her apartment with her and we started rolling, we had already developed a relationship. She was already comfortable telling me about her story. I already learned about Max. And that really allowed me to kind of just give her the space to talk about it. A lot of times I think you can have a character and you can think to yourself, wow, this person's going to make a great film. And as soon as you turn the camera on, it's like they freeze up and they just can't be themselves. You run into that situation a lot. Mary could not have been more the opposite of that. I had a list of questions, but she needed none of them. A lot of it, I think I maybe asked her 3 questions, and she just told me her story so eloquently and so beautifully, and you could just see like so much of who she was in the way she communicated, and that just made it honestly very easy. And then on top of that, the scout day I think that I did really came in handy because Ahmed, I think you couldn't be there in person. You had another shoot, but I was able to go in there, take some pictures, show him where the light was coming from. I had a few shots that I knew I wanted to get. That first one where you see her breaking up the treats like through that little window in her kitchen. I knew, I'm a big sucker for like frame within a frame, those kind of shots. And he just completely nailed it. And we had a few conversations where we were just, sort of spitballing ideas off of each other, talking about how we wanted everything to feel. And because we knew exactly what we were trying to make before we even rolled a second of tape, everything came together exactly like I said. So yeah, I would say pre-pro. If you're ever making a film, it's very, very important.
And actually, that's a good follow-up question. Actually, I wanted to ask Lily that came to mind. What kind of pre-production work did you do, finding your farmers, planning, and how kind of your education kind of fit into that?
It's a great question. I'm glad that you brought up pre-production because I don't think people really understand that a lot of filmmaking is done writing the film before you even touch a camera. So I did quite a bit of research beforehand just on oyster farming in general and sort of how that's weaving its way into these different conservation efforts that are going on in the Chesapeake Bay specifically. And then from there, I tried to look up, the various farms. There's a lot along the Eastern Shore, but I had to consider accessibility. How hard was it going to be to reach these various farms, because some are pretty far out there. And then also looking up, has other media have other media stories been done about these folks? You know, what else can I learn about these farms specifically, and the people who are working at them, to sort of get a feeling for whether they'd be receptive to a type of project like this, if, you know, what kind of views they might come out with. There's only so much you can do on that front, but trying to get a taste for, you know, what these folks are like, and then reaching out to them, trying to have conversations, having discovery calls with people just to say, hey, I'm working on this project. Can we just talk about it before you even mention coming out with a camera? So there's quite a bit of, you know, several months worth of work that goes in just to doing all that work on the front end of things.
Did you eat a lot of oysters as part of your trip?
I did not. I'm not a fan of raw oysters. I did not. As far as I know.
One question up front, or back there? We have a question back there, then a question up front.
This is sort of a stupid question, but what was your mockumentary idea about?
Oh man. It wasn't really a mockumentary, but it was going to be like this cheeky investigative news piece about like, why are all these people breaking leash laws? Because it's like, it's such a contentious thing in, like, you go to the DC subreddit and there are always people, like, guaranteed once a month there's going to be like, you know, the park isn't a dog park. There's a dog park down the street. So I was just going to do this like very cheeky thing. I don't know if anyone's ever seen, I'm sure, well, some people have probably seen Pineapple Express. I don't know if you remember the beginning scene. Bill Hader is testing item 9, and then the last part, the guy is like declaring marijuana illegal. He goes, illegal, and then it like transfers into the actual film. I was gonna like have a bunch of shots of cute dogs and be like, did you know that this dog is, and then like play that sound clip of him going illegal. It honestly, I don't know, maybe someday I'll still make it, but yeah, it was just eventually I just realized, you know what, like that's not, because I wanted to integrate Mary into it, and it just obviously if I was doing like an investigative cheeky documentary like the heartwarming story of Mary, obviously would have been a very hard thing to like plug into that. And so I just had to make that decision on like, what do I want this thing to be? And then, as I said earlier, once I did that, everything kind of fell into place. But maybe I make the cheeky investigative piece a little later. We'll see.
And I want to say you guys got me real good on the intro of that. It kind of reminded me of Up, where it gets you that really hard emotional hit right in the beginning where it got kind of tearing up a little bit.
That's
so
the goal, man.
very good. We have one question in the front.
And I think this will be the last question,
That will
okay?
be the last question.
I'm sorry, I didn't see the hand. All right, I'm really doing well.
My question is for Lily. There's sort of two questions. One is like, it seemed like you might have an opinion or a perspective, but you're trying not to draw the conclusion, you know, maybe the Department of the Environment could, you know, pay these oyster farmers, you know, without really coming out and saying it. And I'm curious, like, what your process was for considering that, and, you know, kind of letting the viewer kind of draw conclusions rather than telling them what to think, or what you think. And then also connected to that, I'm aware, you know, I was just thinking, because I'm aware of land use more, and different entities, like some of them private, some of them not. Like, I think it's the Maryland Department of Environment will pay farmers to like not use land for redevelopment of certain types of, and I have a client who has a farm in Newburgh, Maryland, who paid like 1.2 million or something for like 500 acres, and then he got paid by, I think, the Department of Environment, which is essentially, I think, the federal government funded like $500,000 or $600,000 to ease most of it so that he could still use it for tree farming and some other uses. And why not, you know, I mean, essentially if you're saving the environment, that's the whole point of the program, and it's valuable. So why wouldn't the Department of Environment or a land bank, which would be a nonprofit, do the same thing with these oyster farmers?
Yeah, I think those are really great questions. To your first, I do feel like as a filmmaker, a lot of times I like to come at it from a perspective of I want people to tell their own stories. I don't necessarily want to be inserting what I want to be the ultimate outcome, especially if someone didn't come out and say it specifically. There were some harder opinions in there that, in interviews that I did that did not make the film, where some people did come out more forcefully, for or against, ways to collaborate with folks like the Chesapeake Bay Foundation, but felt like I didn't quite have the right material to include it. And also it's, you really do need to also be able to fact check things. And there's only so far an opinion can get you from, what someone might say on camera. And so didn't feel comfortable including some of those opinions in here just because of those reasons. To your second point, there are conversations being had around how can credits and things like that be incorporated into oyster farming and folks who are getting into this. There was a program during COVID that was helping oyster farmers out, and unfortunately they just decided they didn't want to continue it, probably for money reasons. But it's a great question, and I think it's one that these farmers are also trying to fight for. They're, out here doing the work, and they are helping to save the environment. Chesapeake Bay Foundation would say all of the oysters that these farmers are putting in the water are going towards their conservation goals. So it is a good question of why aren't they getting paid? Why isn't there some kind of monetary incentive on that front? Because the industry itself can only grow so far and sustain only so much demand. I mean, only so many people want to eat oysters in this area. So it's one of those things that as the industry is growing, I think more and more of those conversations are being had. But it's definitely in early days, and I think because of the different angles that farmers are coming from versus folks like those working at the Chesapeake Bay Foundation, there's a little bit of tension, as always, with how resolutions will be made on how industry and conservation will find harmony together in this space. But I think it'll be an interesting one to watch, and I would encourage everyone to keep an eye out.
Well, thank you. Thank you so much, everybody, for spending this afternoon with us. Thank you to the filmmakers.
Thank you.
A few last words. Let's give it up. I'm going to hand the mic over to our new board chair, Dr. Gregory Maassen. Two quick things. Actually three quick things. We have all of the judges who did the work this weekend. Adele Schmidt, Artistic Director, Karush, Kine Bonner, Angela Pinalia. Please, from Docs in Progress, please thank them for doing a fabulous job for this festival. We're going to take a break. We hope you will come back for what is a really great program at 7 o'clock. You could go to Mi Rancho or Silver Branch Brewery for dinner. Tell them Doc sent you, and then come back. And also tomorrow evening, afternoon, is a wonderful film, Happy Campers. It is going to be at Tacoma Park, as I've told the last session, due to a very generous donation. It is you have a VIP code, and we hope you will join us as our guests. And now I'm turning over the mic. The Tacoma Park Community Center, I think it's Maple Avenue, and you can park at Piney Branch Elementary. As I said to last time, the code is on the card outside. I just prefer not to give the code over Facebook Live.
These are VIP tickets, aren't they? They are VIP tickets, so we hope to see you. Congratulations on a wonderful show, and congratulations on finishing your capstone, because that's a challenge, huh? And I know that because as part of my midlife crisis project, I just did a master's in filmmaking at AU, and I had to do a capstone, and oh my goodness, that was a lot of work. I had to cry. I'm a cat person, but Max, yeah. I mean, I'm sure you all, were sort of crying a bit, and that brings me to a theme that is really important to me and why I joined Dogs in Progress, because we'll have a connection with nature, but we also have a connection to our community. And Dogs in Progress is just a wonderful community organization, and you are part of our community. So on behalf of the board, our executive team, and all our volunteers, I want to thank you for being here tonight with us, being part of our community. We're going through some difficult times when it comes to funding, the arts landscape, and I'm more resolved than ever to make sure that an organization like Dogs in Progress continues to thrive. And we cannot do that without your support. So thank you so much for coming today. We have had a full house since yesterday evening. One little correction, Barbara said you only have 1 hour to eat. I think the next film starts at 7:30, so you have a little bit more time. We hope to welcome you back tomorrow indeed. VIP tickets, we will be handing out the codes. Hope to see you then. And yeah, if you have a little bit room left in your budget for a donation, don't forget about Dogs in Progress. Thank you so much for coming, and I hope to see you a little bit later tonight, if not tomorrow.